Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Tamara, and today we are discussing our June Buddy Read thriller title. If you would like to see this in a video format without commercials, you'll need to head on over to Patreon and sign up today. We also have a fun after show available over on Patreon all about this year's Thriller Fest. So I'm sure you want to know about that. You don't want to miss out. You got to head on over to Patreon. So don't forget, you can always join me and my two co-hosts over on the Book Clubs app for even more bookish chats. Please subscribe and like the podcast wherever you're listening. And if you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me everywhere at Shelf Addiction. Joining me today is feature co-host Classy from the Bookish Virtual Assistant. Welcome back, Classy.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Tamara. Long time no see.
Yeah. Whole 2 days.
Yeah, right?
Okay, before we begin, tell everyone where they can find you online.
Twitter, Classy Green. Facebook, Classy Green. Instagram, Classy Green 1, because I got hacked. And the Bookish Virtual Assistant on Instagram as well.
All right, awesome. Ooh, can I get my words together today? I feel like I'm a little...
Are you recovering from our trip?
I was drinking a bunch of water the last 2 days, so...
I know.
Before we begin, I always want to just remind you that we talk full spoilers in our book chat, so spoiler alert, you've been warned. Today we are discussing the book Gone Girl, written by Gillian Flynn, or is it Gillian Flynn?
Gillian. I think it is Gillian.
Okay, the audiobook is narrated by both Julie Whalen and Kirby Hayborn, both very good narrators, by the way. Published on June 5th, 2012 by Baltine Books and Random House Audio. The hardcover comes in at 415 pages. The unabridged audio is 19 hours and 57 minutes. That's long. And Classy, would you please share the synopsis with us?
Absolutely. Who are you? What have we done to each other? These are the questions Nick Dunn finds himself asking on the morning of his 5th wedding anniversary when his wife, Amy, suddenly disappears. The police suspect Nick. Amy's friends reveal that she was afraid of him, that she kept secrets from him. He swears it isn't true. A police examination of his computer shows strange searches. He says they weren't made by him. And then there are the persistent calls on his mobile phone. So what did happen to Nick's beautiful wife? I can't believe that was the synopsis from way back when.
That's really short.
Yeah. Like it didn't even like hit the like the good stuff.
No, that synopsis sounds bland, don't it? It sounds kind of bland.
Yeah. And yeah. And everybody, well, I guess once we get into it, this is our second time reading this. So we're coming at it with that second lens or re-examination, reflection point of view.
After a long time ago reading it, right? So I think I read it 9-ish, 10 years ago, around there, because I know it came out 11 years ago now. So I know I didn't read it when it was brand spanking new, but maybe the year after.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I read it. I'm looking here too.
I guess
2014, 2015. Oh, 2013 you read it. I'm looking Goodreads. I see you. Yeah.
Oh, 2013. Okay.
Yeah, so I got to see.
Yeah, that's not too bad. That's next year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So high level, what did you think when you finished this lovely read second time around?
There was a whole bunch of stuff she didn't have to put in this book.
This book, I would co-sign. I would co-sign. This book was so effing long. I'm like, dude, we need this? Like, all the things? And it's crazy because I didn't feel that way the first time around, but maybe it's because we know what's going to happen, so it felt different.
Yeah, that part. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree. Because we're just like, come on, come on, come on, come on. But when I initially read it, it was just like bated breath, like, oh, what's going to happen next? What's going to
Yeah.
happen next?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but when I ended it too, like that epilogue part, I was just like, and
So, y'all, we also rewatched the movie. So, just to kind of compare and contrast, and this extended epilogue was not in the movie at all, really. So,
no,
like, the last part in the movie was, Amy looking up at him, and he's like, his hand on her head, like looking at her like, die, bitch,
right.
die.
I was expecting, even though I've seen this movie again. I mean, this is our second time, maybe third.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times you've watched it, but I felt like this would have been the perfect opportunity. Because didn't he say, like in the book and in the movie, he felt he wanted like crack her skull? Like
Mm-hmm.
it would have been a nice ending, like like him cracking her skull, and then like in reality, like no, I'm just rubbing her head.
Yeah. Like a daydream or something. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh.
Cause man, I felt like him. Like, yeah, like, yeah, I could
Oh,
just,
this
you
hoe,
dumb
yes.
bitch. You
But in
dumb
the end, we
bitch.
got like, I should have counted these pages because there's no page number count. I think it's like
In
almost,
Goodreads, it said they were,
like just this last part. So wait, page
oh,
370
we're talking about the
to,
epilogue?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's almost 45 pages of epilogue of
That's
what
like what,
happened.
that's almost two chapters in a book, right? If you, or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. I guess technically it's part 3, but it's all of like what happened the day when she came back. 40 days gone, and then here she is. She's back. What happens on that day? So the night of the return, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it was long.
Yeah.
They put it.
Yeah.
They let us know that honestly, Nick cannot escape Amy. He cannot escape. He is stuck for life. He better buckle up because he got a long 18 years ahead of him.
Yeah. Because she has, what did that resilience, like, what did he call her? Vengeful Amy, not amazing Amy. And she was like, I killed for you. Who can say, who can ever say they've killed for you, Nick?
I know.
And like what I did like in the compare and contrast of the movie to the book, um, Tanner Bolt, which played by, come on, Classy, Tyler Perry, the
Mm-hmm.
lawyer, his, high profile lawyer who usually gets men in these kind of situations out of prison time. He said, you better thank her. You should thank her. I mean, granted, in the book, they didn't say he got a lifetime movie offer, or, they franchised the bar and some other stuff, but that's a possibility. So
Mm-hmm.
even though she's crazy as fuck, like batshit crazy, they banked on that. If
Yeah,
you think
they
about it,
did.
like, yeah, they were gonna. I mean, so in other words, like, if you want to continue this lifestyle, it's either me or Andy, and I don't even think
Mm-hmm.
Andy wants you anymore. And
Mm-mm.
no, you guys were broke as hell, and now you are going to bank on all those interviews and all that stuff. So I
Well, don't
did like.
forget the final pages. It said she wrote a book,
Oh, that's
right?
right. Yeah,
Amazing, right?
yeah.
She wrote a
I
book.
forgot that.
And
Yeah.
he had to throw his out. He had a book about to tell all her fucking business. And she said, you know what? I'm going to need some things from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yes.
includes throwing that book out.
She was smart as hell, though. I mean, she was
Mm-hmm.
clever. She was conniving. What the moral of this story, or the common thing? I know you better than you know yourself.
And she does. She knows Nick very well. She anticipated his moves like
Chess
I mean,
piece.
yeah, I could not believe how on top of him she was. She knew exactly how he would react to everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
But
weren't even together that long.
no, but she said even to get him, she changed who she was to be the woman he wanted. So
Mhm.
to even chameleon like you're, not even chameleon, to transform yourself into that kind of person, you do have to study your
Mhm.
your mark, or your, you know what does he want, what does he like. So she, she's just sitting in the background, kind of like how they said, when they first met, and all of a sudden she's like, I gotta be who he wants me to be.
I gotta be
And
the cool girl.
yeah, the girl who thinks, all the cool boy stuff. I want to be like one of the guys, but I also want to be that girl who does, all the stuff that the other girls don't do. So,
Yes.
so yeah, she had to study him a
Drink the
lot.
beers, drink the cokes, do the
Hmm.
sexual stuff that
Yes.
supposedly they like, be the
Hmm.
hot girl. Look, eat all the food, but still stay skinny and hot.
Yeah. Like nobody wants to eat all them hot dogs, but I got to act like I'm one of the guys. And I was like,
Exactly.
she is so right. I mean,
Hmm.
and the bad part is, like, even though she was batshit crazy, she was on the mark, because that's
Yeah.
what they want. They want you to be there at the sports games, but still want you to look sexy. We eating hot dogs and pizza all the damn time.
Look, so right when we got Amy's point of view the day of, like, pretty much 50% in of the book, she really had this monologue about all the things that men are and women are acting like, and they shouldn't have to be, and all of this stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that hit for, I think, a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
They're reading this and they're like, yeah, why we have in
And
this,
this,
in that, yes. Like, come on, why we have to do all the things?
yeah, you were like Team Amy for 50% of the book. You were like,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah. Because, I mean, she did. She supported him, and he didn't really support her dreams. He moved her down from Manhattan to Missouri so they could take care of his mother, and she wind up taking care of his mother and his father. Yeah. So I was Team Amy for, like, yeah, 50,
See,
60% of the book.
and I still, okay, so like this one little here's the chapter where she is, it's on page 222, where she goes into the whole thing. And then at the end of her saying, cool girls never get angry, they only smile in a chagrin loving manner and let their men do whatever they want. Go ahead, shit on me, I don't mind, I'm the cool girl.
Mm.
I'm like, damn. So she felt a way. And, there was another point in this book. She's like, he was all basically all on me when I was the cool girl, but I got married and showed him who I was, and how dare he not like me?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare you?
But I mean, he basically changed too when they got married, because, he was doing all the loving dovey stuff, and, I just love you because you're not like that. And then, kind of, once she was demanding things of him, and it really wasn't demanding, it was
Come
things
to this
that,
dinner. Come meet
yeah,
my,
it's
yeah.
something that you're a husband now. You're no longer my boyfriend. These are some of the things that are required of you. I wasn't going to use that word, but I am, because they were married. There's some things, if she's made some sacrifices, there are some things that you should do too. And soon as she became like, you know what? He's slowly slipping into single manness, because that's kind of what it seemed like. And as soon as she got a voice, and he even said it,
He didn't like it.
when women, I don't like when women tell me what to do. Basically,
Hmm.
he became that curmudgeon like his daddy, but not openly, because he had a persona. But under his
Yeah.
breath, it was, you dumb bitch, you dumb
He
bitch, you
doesn't
dumb
like
bitch.
crying. What do you say? Crying and
Ooh,
like complaining,
for,
basically.
yep, or confronting. Even his
Yeah.
sister said, you don't like confrontation. So he basically wanted I think we even said that in other books, the Stepford wife, or just a quiet wife, trophy wife who's just beautiful. And whatever I say, do, you do.
Hmm. And she was that for years until, like, the cookie started to crumble. They lost their jobs. They were
Mhm.
forced to move. And of course, she's like accommodating because she doesn't want to be that bitch that doesn't want him to move and take care of his parents, right? Like,
Right.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person. So she sucks it up and moves. And it doesn't take long before he is messing around. They were only
Right.
married 5 years when this happened.
Yeah. And not only that, he didn't ask her if she wanted to move. He
No.
said, "We're moving."
Yeah.
That was one of the things I wrote down to her bookmark. Like, she said, he didn't even ask me. He just was like, "This is what we're doing."
Hmm.
And like the dutiful wife, even though she didn't want to, or I won't say she didn't want to, but she kind of didn't like that Missouri. But you didn't ask. You just
Hmm.
assume because that's your mother and I'm your wife that I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, so the thing is this. So Nick gets zero sympathy from me. He's the worst kind of guy, right? He really is. And the author goes through a lot to make us dislike him in the first 50% of that book. She is putting full force behind the assholiness of Nick Dunn, right? So I get it. No
She,
sympathy here.
nope.
But because she did that so hard, I felt like, it's one of those things where it's like the usual suspects, just like the author said in the book. It's always the husband, right? You have this
Mm-hmm.
thing about me, and you're just going to hold on to it like a dog with a bone, right? You just expect the husband to do it. And she made him so unlikable. It was, it was like in your face. Of course he did it. And to me, honestly, and I thought this the first time, and it held true for me the second time, it was so much, I just knew he hadn't done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, no. And now, not saying I knew what did happen, because, the first time around, I was still shocked that she was alive, but
Mm-hmm.
I had thought something else happened and
Right.
it wasn't him.
Yeah. 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 And you're right. Like, she laid it on so thick. And even at points where I felt like he didn't, there would be moments where she throw something else in there that he did. Like you said, at the 50% mark, you were like, ooh, he is an asshole. And then we kind of get into the story and you're like, well, maybe it's not. And then he does something stupid. And you're like, nah, see,
He a
it could
dumb
be
one.
him. It could be, look at this shit. He's smiling.
Hmm.
He's, and then you find out about the affair. And then you
Hmm.
find out the affair has been going on for, not a couple
Over a
months,
year.
over, yeah. So, yeah, those
Hmm.
little sparks of just when I thought it wasn't him. Is it? Is it not? Yeah. And that I did like about her writing, that she would always leave us kind of hanging. That the unreliable narrator,
Hmm.
she masters it. And even at Thriller Fest, how many people referred to Gone Girl?
You know,
Probably
like,
almost every panel we went to.
that's because, if we set this in other episodes, like Gone Girl has been like the gold standard, right?
Mhm.
Since this book came out, every publisher is saying this book is like Gone Girl. If you like Gone Girl, you'll like this. They use this as like, because it was the ultimate. I'm telling you, that plot twist at that 50% mark, when it changed point of views and we are like firmly in Amy's head, and
Mhm.
we're like, oh shit, she driving down the road. Her ass ain't dead. You know,
Yes.
that was the biggest twist I think I've ever experienced. Like, I was like shocked, saying OMG out loud. I mean, I just remember this huge reaction.
Yeah.
I haven't had that with very many books.
Where your mouth is just like gaped open,
Yeah.
sitting there. Yeah, I remember saying, "What the hell?" I
Hmm.
know I closed the book because I was like, I know I just didn't read what I just read. No, I'm gonna
Yeah.
come back. I'll be back. I'll be
Like, I
right
need a
back.
break. I need a
Yep.
break. Let me.
Yes. Yeah, it was one of those moments, and it was like 10 years ago. I know I text people in the book club or something. I was like, where are you guys at in this book?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm not that far. I'm like, when you get to that part.
You'll
call
know
me or
what it
something.
is.
Right.
You'll know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was like you said, I don't think I had read anything like that. And then everybody started trying to do it. Girl on the Train. And I mean, maybe it has probably been done before, but I had not read anything like that. And apparently,
Mhm.
um, in the book publishing world, I'm assuming it hadn't been done that well either because people are still, as you said,
Yeah.
the gold standard, they are still referring to her.
11 years later.
Yeah, I didn't bring my notes, but Darby Kane mentioned, I can't remember which part of the book she mentioned, and it was perfect. It was like, yep, I remember that. Yeah, so
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I think that wasn't that the villain's conversation about, I can't remember.
yeah,
But yeah, so I feel like that is one thing that she did exceptionally well is the villain, because both of them are villains in this book.
mm-hmm. In their own right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she just showed like, yeah, she basically did show how in a marriage you have both
Hmm.
from, both perspectives. And um yeah, I was trying to even kind of think like at one point I even told you like the things that Amy did, granted she went over the top. He deserves that shit. She bought the bar with her money, the house, her money. Um when he lost his job, he's out there buying suits and things that
Treating
people who
people
aren't,
at the bar. Get the hell
yeah,
out
that
of
people
here.
who are laid off should not be buying. Oh, we got it. But, he was basically like, I
And
think I
he knew
wrote that
his
down.
job was coming too. He knew
Yep,
it, but he's still
yep,
out there spending money.
yep. He started spending money that laid off people don't buy for interviews because he was like, oh, in case I get an interview, a $3,000 suit, in case you get an interview, we do have the money. Didn't
He
even want.
started counting her money as his money.
Yeah, and then the suit that was just sitting on the bed or wherever, he didn't even hang it up. So she's like, you want me to hang it up? I don't mind. Or something. Basically, you can if you want to. Oh, that was like,
I'm like,
ooh,
where's that fucking receipt? We taking this shit back.
girl. Yes. Yeah, so
um,
I was just like,
yeah.
yeah, and he became lazy. I think she said he wasn't living up to the contract that he signed up for. She was doing all the stuff around the house. Granted, again, this was her diary, and she was setting his ass up. But in my heart of hearts, I really think some of that shit was true.
Well, I do think I agree with you. I think there was some truth sprinkled in there, but the point was to make him seem so, like, to show the escalation of him, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that the police would believe that he murdered her. So
Mm-hmm.
it started with her saying, oh, he just treats me like this, or oh, he just disregards me like that. And then it just escalated and escalated little by little until she gets shoved, or until this, and oh, I'm scared. So definitely, I think the early days of their relationship, and the author actually says that through Amy in the book. She's like, I got to make sure I have lots of real fun the beginning times in here when
Mm-hmm.
everything was great,
Yeah.
and so she can just show how that just transformed. And
Yeah.
I do say poor Nick, because he is always being blindsided by her. They're like, what about her diary? He like, what diary? She'll use a diary. And
Friends. Oh, she's got best friend. Who?
what
Who's
friend?
her friend? Come on now. There's pictures on our mantle.
Yeah, like
Huh?
what? He
Amy.
like,
Amy talked about everybody in the neighborhood.
yeah, she got his ass. She
Yeah,
got
she
him.
did. She set him up.
But even though, like I say, even though he's an asshole, like, it is clear that Amy has lots of screws loose. She she tricked him just like he tricked her. They tricked each other, and I don't think
Yeah.
that warrants a murder sentence with a possible death penalty over your head. I think she went a few steps too far. Like, even what she did to her little, the guy who was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
I
Desi, the one
Yes,
she at the
Desi.
end, yeah.
Yes.
Even the guy she accused of rape, I was like, damn.
Yeah,
In the
so
movie, I really loved how they did his role. He's like,
yeah.
I can't even get a job. They or a date. They Google search my name. Yeah.
So she's been doing this to people, and in the book especially, she even did it to girls. She did it to one girl that
Mm-hmm.
she didn't like was getting more attention than her.
Yeah.
Suddenly, she's tricking her into doing stuff, and now the girl looked like the crazy one that wants to be Amy.
Yeah.
So she has a track pattern of when you screw her, she don't like what you did, she gonna teach you a lesson.
Sociopath.
Yeah.
Just one,
I'm
just a little bit, just a little.
I'm gonna teach you the wrong of your ways. And you
Wait, and not only that, like after she does the shit to you, she kind of comes back and whispers in your ear, like, like she wrote the girl a letter, basically like, watch your back, bitch.
Mhm.
The guy that she accused of rape, did she like write him a note or called him or, it's always like after she does it, it's basically like, don't fuck with me. This
She
is what
did that to
happens.
Nick too, because
Mm-hmm.
Nick's like, "You're a crazy bitch." She like, "You're a murderous psycho bitch." She like, "You know what? I can still fuck you up. I will still mess your life up. You better watch yourself. We'll start again
Yeah.
tomorrow. Good night."
Right. In the shower, that cool, how
Yes.
she was cool, calm, and collected. Shampoo. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
It's like, she ain't wrapped too tight. She
No,
is
and the
not
next
wrapped too
morning she
tight.
like, "Okay, I understand you were upset yesterday, but we can start again today."
Yes, you can't sleep with me because I would never ever hurt you. After she just murdered Desi, sent me through the ringer. I don't want to sleep with you.
Desi also had some screws loose though. He
Yeah,
was
Desi
also
was.
psychotic and she killed him.
Mhm.
But she knew that wasn't the best idea to deal with him because he was a little crazy, you know? She's like, "I don't know, it may not
She
be the
kind
best
of she like
idea."
met her match there a little bit without, yeah, because she was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. He has me locked up in a home. Yeah, it was just a bit too much for her. And I think he probably went there with her like that because she was the one that got away. And he basically was like, not again. That's not
Mhm.
happening this time.
But
Yeah.
she walked right in there. She just walked right in there. I guess she felt, "Hey, Desi has a lot of money. I had just got robbed. So I'll deal with this crazy to try to get some money to
Yep.
proceed with my plan," and it backfired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she didn't realize, but she turned it around and figured it out. She's like, "Oh, we got cameras in here. Oh, okay." But yeah, she wasn't expecting that. She was expecting just give me the money and I can keep it moving. But she had to play a role,
Mhm.
and throughout the book, she had to play a role. And
Many roles, and I mean, again, she literally tells us, like, with no shame, "I grew up learning how to play roles for people. I grew up, you want this type of daughter, I'm that type of daughter. You want
yeah,
this type of friend, I'm that type of friend." She's never been herself ever.
no. Basically she was whatever, however, what did her dad write, like 20 books? She was, she could be like the Sybil of, Amy, Amazing Amy, whatever book, she could be that person. Whatever, Avenging Amy, or, whatever book that was, she had that personality, or she could
Mhm.
put that on.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, this is it was it was an interesting second read. Like I said, I picked up on some things I didn't pick up the first time. And yeah, I was just like, I can't. The other thing is like, I can't believe I read all these damn pages. Even though I've read more, but it's
Girl.
just like, I read all of this? How
Girl.
fast?
Right. So, because I blew through this book the first time. I know I did. I
Yeah.
blew through it so quickly. Um, so yeah, okay, let's take a quick break because I want to talk about the reread experience when we come back from the commercial break. So you guys check out these commercials by listening to those. You are supporting the podcast. Don't forget to check out the book review journal available right now on Amazon, and we'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Okay, so the reading experience. We already said the book was long. The audiobook was long. The first time I read it, I didn't even do the audiobook. So this time I tried the audiobook. In this audiobook, now I like Julie Whalen. She is a great narrator. I like this other guy too. But my God. Okay, I was listening pretty much on 2x the whole time. And the last couple hours, I'm like, please let it end. I put it on 3x. I inched myself up to 3x to make it end.
And I know they were because I was at 2.2 and I put like my little speaker on, because I was in the shower and I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine what they sounded like.
Look,
you were just like,
focused.
I need to get through.
I was in my room with the blinds closed, and nothing was on, no TV, no nothing. I was sitting there listening and I was like playing a puzzle game, nothing that needed anything. And I was literally listening hard. And then I'm like, let me just get up and get the book. And then I'm like, well, let me start reading along a little bit. And I did a little bit of that. And I'm like, okay, just go faster.
Yes.
Over. I'm like, I want this over. And that's not good. So while I do think this book is great, I still give it the rating I gave it. It's still a 5-star read. I don't think this is one of those books that are just as enjoyable the second time through.
Yeah, I gave it a 4. I thought I gave it a 5, but it was a memorable book. And I'm going to keep my 4 as well. But yeah, I don't think this is one of those second time around. Because usually because I don't reread books. I believe you do. Only time I reread is if I have to, like podcast, book club.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some books that I've reread that I've enjoyed and didn't want to rush it, even though I knew the ending or I knew who killed, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it was enjoyable. And I was just like, oh, I missed that part the first time. And, I took my time with it.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like a damn lover. But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was enjoyable. And not to say this wasn't enjoyable, but yeah, this isn't a second read.
No.
Yeah, it was just like, we know she crazy as fuck.
I can't figure out why though. And I just can't help but think, is it because that it was so memorable that we knew every single thing? Or because, I have reread books here on the podcast in the fantasy thing, in the fantasy read along, that I hadn't read for a decade. And I thoroughly enjoyed them. I did not get that same, and these were long books. We read the Red Rising trilogy, and these books are big. They are chunkers.
Yeah.
And I've reread the Court of Thorns and Roses, huge books, and I did not get that feeling. So I don't know if it's just because of the type of book it is, because it's such a thriller with a very clear story, that rereading it again is like you just know all the things, so there's nothing
surprising or
yeah.
And how would I say this? Like there wasn't any, like her writing, there wasn't any like eloquence or metaphors or symbolism. And I know, because that's kind of like with literary fiction and things, but everything, like you said, it was just cut dry relationship, this and that. There was no like little hidden stories or subplots kind of in there. Everything was, like you said, was cut and dry and out in the open. You had her story, you had Nick's story, and then you had that twist where I'll just say, for example, I remember rereading American Marriage, I think that is, by Tayari Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about, did you read that? An
I
American
did.
Marriage? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I read the first time and I enjoyed it. And then the second time I started realizing how much of a jerk Andre was and the little things that he was doing, that I missed the first time and why she didn't take him back. Because at first I was just like, that's her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he went to prison and he didn't do it, that's her husband. But that second time when I read it, I began to see she forgave him a whole, like those little
Mm-hmm.
things, where with this,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't a mystery or anything, but it was just the way Tiari wrote it, that there was just some little things that were subtle that, you could kind of miss.
Mm-hmm.
But you read it that second time and it comes up where, like you said, in this, it was just, here's all the clues, kind of
Mm.
like a crime.
Yeah.
Here's all the clues.
Right.
And we enjoyed it and we watched and there really wasn't like anything hidden. You're right. When I say it out loud again, as
Mm-hmm.
we often do, there were no like hidden clues because her limericks, she gave us we got the
Yeah.
answer.
Yep.
There was no ahas really because
Yep. There
they figured
wasn't.
him out. Yeah, there was no big like who done it or whatever. So yeah, you're right. That may be the reason why it was like, okay.
Yeah. Because I was kind of, I mean, like we were really like excited about revisiting this book, and I mean, honestly, I still got it done pretty quickly. I got it done in like, okay, so I took several days off. So if I had to think about the actual days, I think I got it done in like 3.5 days.
Okay.
That was still fast, but I was like pedal to the metal. It was difficult.
Yeah, because you think, oh, I've read this before. I can get through it. And then all of a sudden you're just like, shit, I'm only at 67%.
Yeah,
That's how I
exactly.
felt. And I was like, then I had to bump it up. And then
I did the same thing. I kept looking like, oh my God, I'm only this far. WTF? Why?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because you
yes.
think once you hit that 50% mark, like you said, and it switches that it get, like I should be here. And I didn't. I was
Mm-hmm.
not there. And then I fell asleep on the damn book. Thank goodness I bookmarked because I knew I was getting sleepy so I could go back. But I still wasn't that damn far when I went to sleep. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh gosh, come on. When am I going to get to at least 80%?
Exactly.
So yeah, I listened on
Exactly.
the train to work. I finished it at work, and then I finished the rest of the movie on the way home
Mm-hmm.
on the train because we kind of watched some of it um, at Thriller Fest, in between our break, and then I just kind of finished where I remember going to sleep.
Mm.
So, but yeah, it was a sprint. It was a sprint,
Yeah.
and that was the other thing too that. And I don't know, like you said, I don't know if it's because we reread it that I was just like, oh, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
We read this before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we just assumed it would be easy peasy. It would just flow. And and to be fair, it did. It's not like it turned bad or anything. It was
No,
just different. It's really hard to explain.
it was a different experience from the
Yeah.
first time we read. And like you said, there have been books where the second time I read it, I have bumped up a rating, or I was just like, I still enjoy this. This is just a great story. And this, like I said, I'm not changing my rating, but it was just like, okay, I just wasted
Mm-hmm.
14 hours. But anyway, we did it for the
Girl, right.
podcast. We did it for the podcast. We wanted to do this. Um, so be it.
So that makes me like leery of trying to reread any other books in this genre. Just because of how it's the who done it, right? The how, like once it's revealed versus like the other type of genres where even though what's going to happen, there's a lot more.
Nuance and some other
Yes.
little things. I can imagine because I don't read fantasy. I will, but that's not like my favorite. But I can imagine like in fantasy, those little kind of, little nuggets that you could kind of like, oh, I miss that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I came in at the tail end. No, I think I may have listened to you and Samaya podcast, and it was something she said or you said. So I can imagine like rereading that, and you're just like, yeah, I missed that the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like heavy. It's with that type of fantasy, excluding urban fantasy. I think it's not as heavy on world building, but that type of fantasy is very world building heavy. So there's a lot of like how the power works, how this works, how that works,
Yeah.
and it's easy to like kind of miss stuff here and there. But
Hmm.
with this, it's more cut and dry. Once you've read it, you read it. You know,
Yeah,
you
like
know.
here's the clues. See, this is how we figured out she did blah blah blah. But even
Mm-hmm.
in this one, because it really wasn't your classic who done it,
Mm-hmm.
I think that has that extra layer to that it wasn't your classic who done it.
Yeah.
Once we got to the 50% mark, we knew
We knew
who done
who
who
did it.
you
Who
you're
didn't
right,
do it
that and
but
who
did it.
didn't do it. Right.
Who
And
didn't
then
do it
we
but did it.
right. So yeah, I think that's that, that part is just like once we get there, it's just like it's all downhill kind of for us the second time. But when you first read it, it's just like,
You
ooh.
know what else I wonder though? I wonder how much the movie has affected our reread as well. Because I know
Mm.
you said the other day that you were like wanting to hear Ben Affleck's voice
It
versus
took, yeah. What's his name? What's the narrator's name? It took me probably that 50% mark before I became really comfortable with his voice and it began to feel like Ben.
Mhm,
Because the first time I did not do the audio, I read the book.
mhm,
So doing the audio this time, it was just like, that does not sound like Nick because I've seen the movie. So
mhm.
now my visual and my audio me is expecting Ben Affleck. And
Right.
this guy sounded like a guy who was probably maybe just at that puberty mark. He sounded like to me he had a higher pitched voice. And it was kind of like a squeal, and I don't know if it was my
Squeal.
rate. It was just kind of like it was like quirky. It wasn't, I don't know how to, like Ben's voice is a little deeper.
See, look, Ben has been playing Batman, so he's been trying to play around with his voice.
Voice, yes.
This person does not have any like tenor in his voice.
No tenor. That's it. He had no tenor at all. So it took some
Yeah.
time before I became really, like, okay, it's him. This is Nick.
Mhm.
But yeah, not doing the audio and then seeing the movie, my opinion was jaded because I was like, mm, you ain't no Ben.
Yeah.
You're no Ben, but
Well,
okay.
but you know what's funny because the actress that played Amy, I know her
Rosamond.
voice is different than Julia Wayland, but Julia Wayland did not bother me at all. I felt totally
No.
fine with her as a narrator.
Yeah.
They
I
sound
could
in the
visualize it.
wheelhouse of each other.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It was like my visualization of this author and the actor, the casting just did not mesh. But like you were saying, Rosamund Pike and Julie Wayland,
Mhm.
perfect. It
Mhm.
worked out. Yeah, she did a fabulous job. So, but yeah, watching the movie can taint your opinion, I think, of a book, especially if you have not read the book first. Like a lot of
Yes.
people watch the movies first and
Oh,
then
no, that's a no-no.
yeah.
I do not recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was a little of my struggle, but I got over it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily have that much of a time with the narrator who was what's his name again? Kirby Hayborn. I think I did totally relate to what you were saying about Ben Affleck, but I think I was able to kind of separate it out without too much of an issue, thank goodness. But they still sounded okay to me at 2x, both of them.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a win. If I can put you on 2X and you don't sound like chipmunks to me, winning.
You're okay. Yeah.
But I don't know about 3X. 3X was pushing it.
Yeah.
Pushing it.
You're just like, I just need to finish this.
I was desperate. I was desperate to be done with it. I'm like, please help me, someone.
Yeah. And like, I think the other thing that's like getting to me is the with the male author. It was just, and I think I mentioned that to you. It's this one part in the book. It was just like, really, dude, that's how you said that. It's when the officers come into the house to Amy has just been reported missing. Nick is there, and they go in the house and they want to go upstairs, and he's talking, and he's like something something step, and it was just like step, step, step. It was just really just boring and bland. I was like, I felt like he had no kind of intonation, no feeling in it. And again, it may have been my jaded opinion that he was not Ben's voice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, I was just like it. And I mean, granted, narration in 20, what was that, 13? No, that's when I read it. 2012, I think it came out, is a lot different than it is now.
Yeah.
Voice actors, narrators are really different and trained differently now. Because at some point, I just felt like he was just reading the book. He was not putting any feeling into it.
He didn't have the gusto in there. Not really.
Not like Julie did. Julie was all in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. Speaking of the movie, since we are doing comparisons and stuff, like I still don't recall getting a clear visual on Nick in this book. So, how he looks. Like we got words about his quirky smile, like his flirty manner. We kind of got an idea that he looks like that typical polo shirt, khaki wearing, snooty writer who thinks he's something, but he's from like the Midwest South, like, Missouri. He's very basic, right?
Yeah. Except for the cleft.
Except for the cleft. But like, how some books you read it and you can visualize exactly what that character looks like. So when you see him on screen, you're like, oh, that's not what I envisioned at all.
Right.
I didn't have that experience at all. I actually now see Ben Affleck as this character. As I'm listening and reading, I'm like, oh, I can visualize without a problem that this has Ben Affleck. And when I saw the movie, I don't recall having any sort of inclination to say, which I've had in several other movies, hey, that's not who I visualized at all.
Right. Yeah. Because this guy was basic. Yeah.
Amy, I did visualize her that way, but not Nick. It wasn't really important what Nick looked like. Not really.
No, he was just supposed to be your basic, like you said, basic boy from the Midwest with a club chin. Well, when they described Amy, it was full on, blue eyes, big eyes, thin. She even described herself how, beautiful she is, and her eyes were big, and the blonde hair, and, so yeah, we knew exactly what she should look like. But yeah, he was just supposed to be a big old country boy from the Midwest,
who's a little,
but he
cocky.
was handsome, yeah. But he had a shit-eating grin. Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that does work for Ben Affleck. And I honestly, I kind of feel like, and I'm sure he is nothing like this. So please, if you happen to be listening to this, do not take offense. But I do feel like he played that part so well. I could believe that was partially his regular personality coming through. Like,
yeah,
okay,
this seemed pretty natural.
Yeah.
Because they had to tell him to quit smiling.
Like, you idiot. What are you doing?
It was just like he's like, I just can't control it. And his little, yeah.
And then every time I see him on any kind of outing or photograph with J-Lo, he always looked like he's mad at the world. So I'm like, so is this I'm not trying to show any other emotions, so all I can do is look mad. So
yeah, like I'm bothered. Like I really don't want to be here, but I'm here.
Exactly. So I'm like, well, that seems a little bit like Nick Dunn, a little bit.
They may have cast it on purpose.
I don't know. I don't know. So again, no shade, just my own 2 cents. That's just
Yeah.
what I saw.
Yeah, the same with me. Like, it wasn't like, no, that is not Nick in my. I'm trying to think of a movie where it was just like, they did totally wrong
Oh,
with
I
that.
can think of one off the top of my head, and I think most people would agree. Twilight.
Oh, yeah.
Edward Cullen, dude. I'm like,
Mm.
when they picked what's his face, Robert Patterson for that, I'm like, WTF, who the fuck is that? That is not what that man is supposed to look like.
That is not what Stephanie said in her book. That is not her description.
Look, I remember being jarred, like, oh my God, that is incorrect. But we all just got used to it,
I was
right?
gonna say, how long did it take before he became,
He's not cute to me at all. I don't think
no,
anything about him is cute. He's not my type at all. At
no.
all. But I got used to him by the second movie. But after the second movie, I was just used to him. But I was really put out when I saw that they had picked him. I'm like, oh my God.
I know you wonder, like, maybe out of all the people, he was the best actor.
I don't know. I mean, not to get off topic, but Kevin says he just looks like he's holding in gas the whole time. Because he's trying to be all like brooding and stuff, but it's coming across like he's just doing that, according
I'm
to.
trying. I don't want to. I don't want to in front of friends.
So he's like trying to concentrate to hold it in. That was not my 2 cents.
Now
That
look,
was
now
his.
see, now the next time I watch, because it'll come on.
Look at his face. He gonna
Yep,
look like.
I'm gonna be like, just let it go. Just poop. Just poop. Go ahead and poop, Robert.
That's what I'm just saying. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's like my biggest mistake. And so this one they did good on the casting. They did good.
Yeah, Rosamund, man, she played
Yeah.
a sociopath to the T. And I still do say that this is probably one of the best book to movie adaptations that I've seen in a long time. They did not stray much from the movie. I almost feel like the movie added a layer to the book, or that I didn't see. Like I was saying, like the guy that she accused of rape, when he said, I can't even get a job because of this, because and he's on the sex offender list, and all these different
Yeah.
things, and you
In
just
the book that the charges were dropped.
yeah.
So they did more in the movie.
That part, and what was another part that was really interesting. But yeah, it was just some other little pieces to the book, that just kind of was like, yes, it brought the story to life. But yeah, I still enjoyed the movie. I don't think in the book, when she, went away to that little hotel or rental room where she got robbed, I'm like, in the book, did they say she was from New Orleans? Because that little New Orleans accent she had, I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember it in the book, but I was like, okay, it added a nice little piece there to the story. But yeah, and they really had, for them to make a 2-hour movie out of a 400-page book, they did excellent, because Gillian, she added, there were so many pieces to this book, and the screenwriters,
they pulled the most important things, right? So like they hit all the most critical parts of this book.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like beefed up some things that needed a little bit more extra oomph, just from a visual and making it more interesting, I guess, for movie.
Yeah.
But this is one of my top 10 movie adaptations. It's very high on the list. There's not many that are this good.
No.
It's very good.
No. Yeah, because we would say they missed that part. They should have put this in there. And
Mm-hmm.
with this, it was like, I'm not sure what I would add from the book to the movie because they hit
Yeah.
the beginning of the relationship, the key, how it started, when it began to decline. Yeah, all the
Even
key
old boy,
points.
what was his name again? The guy that she killed at the end. What was his name?
Desi.
Desi. In the book, we didn't see that happen. In the book, she gave him a drink. He downed this drink after they were together.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of like fade to black. And then next thing you know, she's back. She walking up the drive. In the movie, I was like, oh snap. Like we get to see her setting him up. She's doing all the things, screaming in the camera, putting blood all on her. And then we get to see her slice his fucking throat. Like we just hear about it later. Like in the book, she tells Nick what she does. We don't
Mm-hmm.
see
See
it.
it. Right. Not at all.
In the movie, they said, here you go. Watch this.
This is how crazy this woman is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because
I mean,
there's
it
a
was
difference from
intense.
seeing it real time versus hearing her talk about it in the shower with the water running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was intense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did. That kicked it up a notch for me because, like you said, that fade to black and just it was okay. It was good in the book, but to see what this witch did,
she crazy.
Woo!
She crazy. Like that is nobody. Like she is no good for anyone. You don't want her to be your friend. You don't want her to be in your family. You don't want her to be your significant other because she is nuts.
Yeah.
You come
Poor
for
Go.
anybody.
Go was scared. Go was scared for her brother. She's like, oh my God, you going 18 years of this? Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
And she set her husband up with the baby.
She did.
He's like, this is not my baby. We have not had sex. She's like, oh, yes, it is, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, she planned so far ahead. Because didn't he say that you could look at her calendar 3 years ahead and she had shit in there?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, now that's a planner. Thought I was a fucking planner.
She plotted her way.
Shit on me.
No, yeah, she
3 years in advance?
3 years.
Damn.
I mean, so she was writing in that diary for a long time.
Yeah. Didn't he say like 5 years worth?
The police person said 1 year. That's at least 1 year of writing. At least.
Okay. Yeah. Which is the time he had the affair.
Yeah. So apparently, according to Nick in the book, she obviously was following him and saw them somewhere because all the clues led him to places that he had been with the mistress. So
I think she mentioned it in the book that it was a snowy night. She was lonely and she thought she was going to go meet her husband at the bar and say, let's go do this and that. And when she got there, his ass is walking out of the bar with Andy. And she said, you know what? She said, I'm just going to follow him. And he didn't even recognize that, that she had followed him.
And that is skill because a lot of women would be like, how dare you? They walk up and confront them immediately. And she like, nope, I'm going to follow you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I would be so cool to do that. I mean, I think a lot of people would just want to react and just like, rawr.
Yeah. I think I would have too. Like it took a lot of me to just not sweat, Yeah, I don't know, but dang. And then she just continued on with it. And then after that, her plot was set. But I mean, she had a prenup, but I think she wanted to win. And
she wanted to teach him the lesson, as he said.
Yeah.
She wanted to lord that over him, that he is an idiot and he need to learn. Even she said it. She was like, look, I don't even care what you think. I saw the Nick that I liked on the TV. You're going to get that shit together.
That's why I came back.
She like, I want that. Yes. I don't care.
You are capable. I saw it. Yeah. She was like, there he is. He's wearing that tie and that watch. I got him exactly where I wanted him.
Yes, he's doing all the things to get me back, saying all the correct things. And she like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. You gonna act like you gonna act like this husband I married, or else.
Because she said everything in motion. I mean, damn. Yeah. Crazy.
All right, so we already set our ratings, but let's just recap. So first time I rated it a 5. I still hold it to a 5. I still think it's an excellent story. But if you're listening to this podcast because you read it and watched it, I would shy away from rereading. I don't think it's a great reread.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it a 4. I thought I gave it a 5, but I gave it a 4. I will not increase my rating. It's like you said, it's still a good book. It's memorable. There's so many things, we quote. It's those things, but it is not a good reread. You won't miss anything.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to be just like, ooh, nothing like that.
No.
Not for a reread.
No, save yourself.
415 pages and how many hours of audio?
Oh my God. Too many.
I think it was like 14 or 15 hours in audio.
No, it was like 19 hours. Wait, where's my thing? Here it is.
Really?
19 hours and 57 minutes.
Yeah, I just looked at the Libby app.
20 hours of listening.
So I can't wait for book club for people who have not read this book. I can't wait to hear their opinions about this book.
Same. I think that those people that have never read Gone Girl, they are in for a huge treat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's going to be the exciting part for me is hearing new readers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so next month, July, if you are in the book clubs app, then you would have seen a notice go up. I extended an offer to suggest books for July Reader's Pick. And we have selected one of the books that one of our book club members suggested. So next month, we are reading The Last Word by Taylor Adams. Dun, dun, dun.
You better come through, Taylor.
I know. You better come correct because we really liked his one book. And his second book we read, we thought was okay.
Yeah.
But we liked No Exit so much. That was his first one that we read. And what was the second one? Hairpin Bridge. We thought it was okay.
Yeah.
But come through. The Last Word, come through.
So far, it looks, the ratings look good, but I think they looked good, last time. But yes, Taylor.
Yes. So you guys come back here again next month. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And if you're into book club, come on over to the book clubs app and we'd love to have you. And if you're not into book club, like I said, we'll be right here in the feed next month. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Take care, guys. Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.